Good morning to all. Happy Dasera. I see Ajay Jain, Chairman Agra branch of CIRC of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. On behalf of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee ICI, welcome all the participants in today's webcast on mastering response skills for chartered accountants, navigating cultural and business environments in India. I welcome to today's resource person, CA Nakul Arora ji, and event enablers from the Agra branch of CIRC, of ICI, and others present over here. Now, I request CA Saurabh Narayan Saxena ji, Secretary Agra branch, for introduction of the speaker. Please, Saurabh Saxena ji.
First of all, good morning to everyone. And from my side, happy Dashera to all the participants. And now I would like to give the introduction of today's speaker, CA Nakul Arora, as a dynamic chartered accountant, bring a unique blend of technical expertise and strong soft skills to the table. With a passion for delivering the high quality services, he has honed his skills in the financial analysis, compliance, and strategic planning. What sets me apart in the ability to effectively communicate complex financial information in a clear and engaging manner. He excels in public speaking and have a proven track record of delivering impactful presentation on various technical topics. He is dedicated to continuous learning and growth, always seeking new opportunities to enhance my skills and contribute meaningfully to the organization I work with. Now I request Nakul Arora to kindly start their deliberation.
Very thanks to CA Saurabh Saxena ji, CA Ajay Jain ji, the event enablers, and Dr. Sambit Kumar Mishra ji, the Secretary of the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee, and all the tech support team. Along with that, the Chairman and Vice Chairman of the board, the pillars of the thought that we require to work on our soft skills. Actually, the topic that we are supposed to take today is a little deeper than what we have already learned about perceptions, perseverance. You've heard a lot of words. But then we are here today as we find ourselves at a pivotal moment for chartered accountants, especially those practicing in dynamic business landscape of India. When I say practicing, I do not mean the practice which is a practice or a service. Practicing in the dynamic business landscape, you can be into job, you can be a business person, entrepreneur, or any way. If you are working in this dynamic business landscape, the topic mastering response skills for chartered accountants, which is navigating cultural and business environments in India, is both timely and essential. So we're at the right time to talk about this, and it is extremely essential to have the right response skills. So in a country as diverse as India, chartered accountants not only serve as financial experts, but also as crucial advisors who are actually bridging the cultural nuances with business acumen. There is a lot which goes into the cultural landscape, the way business has been functioning in the country for so many years, but that is bound to change now because, business acumen demands something, and there is some cultural nuances which is already disturbing the entire system. But then what is the role of chartered accountants here is extremely important, and the ability to navigate in this landscape successfully hinges on mastering response skills. Skills that will align your technical proficiency with cultural sensitivity. The world is more sensitive than it has ever been. And I don't say it's right or wrong because that is not my place to say. As a technical proficient person, I am here to guide my fellow chartered accountants that how we have to align that technical proficiency with cultural sensitivity. So the problem is we think about making perceptions, we think about making assumptions, but how will we work with assumptions when the world around us is so culturally sensitive now? So what we need to do is, in today's business environment, the demand is not only an in-depth understanding of complex regulatory frameworks. 20, 30 years ago, you had an in-depth analysis and understanding of a complex regulatory framework. You knew income tax very well. That time there was sales tax, service tax. If you knew these things well, then that was okay. So just having an in-depth understanding of the complex regulatory frameworks that govern our profession was enough. But today, you also need the capability to engage effectively across various cultural contexts. So the ability to engage has to be added to your. Now again, the soft skills are not an alternative to hard skills. I always say it, and I mean it from the core of my heart. Soft skills cannot replace hard skills. Actually, you still need those hard skills, which is, having an in-depth understanding, in-depth knowledge of the subject matter, being an expert of the regulatory framework that governs our business and, that governs our profession. To an addition, you have to add the capability to engage effectively across various cultural contexts. There's a lot of cultural contexts that we operate in. You have to have the ability to engage effectively. Now, this session will explore the critical competencies required to thrive in such an environment. It will encompass everything from understanding hierarchical structures, how hierarchies are made, how structures should be made, and traditions to effectively communicate and make ethical decisions. Many people think that soft skills are bypassed to ethics sometimes. No, ethics is one of the most important skills you need to have. Maybe you're talking about hard skills, soft skills, profession, business, service, whatever. Ethics is the core of every good practice. Be it a business, profession, service, job, anything, you have to be ethical. Your decisions have to be ethical. The most important thing that where we bypass decisions, bypassing from ethics is one of the decisions that we take. So we have to make ethical decisions. So by enhancing these skills, chartered accountants will be able to foster stronger relationships. I'm not saying, better relationships, because that is for you to decide that if things are better for you or not. But you have to have stronger relationships. All right. And you will also ensure that there is compliance. Now, how would this ensure it is compliance? The reason I took a pause there is because I was thinking that this may be inviting a lot of contradiction. And maybe if you were sitting in front of me and we were in a room, you would have reacted in a way, what are you talking about? Well, we're not in a room, but I can still see you. I can feel that you feel, I can feel that this can be, people can be curious. How does having a good response skill ensure compliance? Actually, a lot of times, then if it is hard work, if it is overtime, if it is a lot of effort required, I don't think chartered accountants ever miss being compliant. One of the reasons that compliance takes a hit is because there are times when we're not able to effectively communicate. We don't have enough relations. We're not able to effectively, give the right response at the right time. And we are not able to make sure that our client is able to make a decision. I know it's a lot of ability that we're talking about. Now, in a small way, if I say it in a brief way, the lack of clarity and connection between the client and the professional who's serving them can be catastrophic. And that is what we are trying to avoid, and we are trying to be stronger. So please do not think that it's going to be a very life-changing thing. Most of the sessions you take in your life are not life-changing, but at least this one is going to make sure that following this, you can make sure you can do other life-changing things in your life. So we will also explore the critical competencies that are required to thrive in such an environment. We will also talk about, how will we able to drive business success in India's unique economic tapestry. India's economy is unique, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. I will also ask you to keep on pushing in your question every few seconds, right? And I would love to answer them right at when I can. Any which way. So when I said I am asking questions on your behalf because I want to ensure that I'm able to answer the doubts that you might be having. So how is India's economic tapestry categorized by its dive? Just a second, please. I'm sorry, I'm having some issues. Just a minute. Just a second, sorry. There was some air conditioning issue, so I had to just resolve that before I, start talking about other things. I will be sharing my screen, and I would just request that if see Ajay Janji, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, if you can see the presentation? Presentation, okay, perfect. So before we delve into further details, let's understand the first concept, which is adaptive thinking. I have already people who've taken the session on adaptive thinking, you remember, but we will now relate it to our current topic, that how adaptive thinking is the skill that is required to adjust. The problem is there are two things that we have to deal with. The business that we do, the profession that we do is complex. It's not a simple thing to do. But the environment, the world around us is getting sensitive every following day. They're getting more and more sensitive. Some things you could say easily in your office back then, today you're not allowed to say that. So the cognitive skill required to adjust your thought and approaches and actions in response to a new information, changing situations, or unexpected challenges is called adaptive thinking. First thing that you need to embrace and work hard upon, I told you, nothing will change at the end of this session in you, but you will have the notes. If you're writing down, you will have the notes to work on a daily basis and make these changes one after another. And I promise you, I'll give you exercises to do these things. The first thing is flexibility, shifting your perspectives and altering your strategies. Now, how can we practice being flexible? Let's not make it a very, one-way session where we don't talk about how to actually, practically apply it. And we'll try and make sure that you have small exercises that you can do on a daily basis from now. Firstly, to shift perspectives, I will ask you to do this for me every day, or maybe one day we start and then we do it for a month and then we change. We do it for a month and then we change. What we need to do is let's listen to a kind of music that you've not listened before. You can start by music, sports, cinema, television, whatever that you enjoy the most, whatever is your favorite time kill. Let's say I personally enjoy a lot of Punjabi music, a lot of dum dum and dam dam. What if I try to listen to smooth jazz for some time? Now the thing is that I listen to it for a week, and then I have a choice. Do I want to switch to another music, or that is one of my new favorites? So this is how my perspective about myself is going to change. I think I like cricket as a sport. Maybe because I've never watched football. Maybe because I've never, tried watching athletics or hockey. First thing, I don't know if you remember or not, our parents used to tell us when we were young. Today's parents are teaching very weird things to their kids, that how to be successful and make money. Our parents used to tell us very simple things. The teachings of parents were very simple. around 20-30 years ago. It was that if you want to start any change, it has to start with you first. So before shifting your perspective about others, we need to shift our perspective about ourselves. Once we do it, I promise you, your brain is naturally getting trained to shift perspectives in a flash. Your brain will accept, firstly, you have to make your brain accept that you're able to, switch from one thinking to another. So please do this exercise. Like if I like sports a lot, if I like movies a lot, if I like music a lot, I just change my stratagem. So I listen to this. I watch a lot of comedy movies. I watch a lot of nonsense kind of stuff on my movies. Or maybe I like romantic movies. I go to thrillers. I go to horror maybe. But please do not do something so weird that you can get physical harm. Please make sure your medical condition is tested before you start any of these stratagems. In any which ways, let's talk about altering strategies. You might have a certain way of doing things. In today's world, it's the best way to practice without making a lot of making a lot of changes to your schedule. Maybe you manage your day in a way that you get up in the morning, you get your morning routines done, then you do some prayers and then you leave for work. What if I say just start waking up maybe 15 minutes earlier or 15 minutes later? Sure, your morning routine will be broken. And that is when you, with or without your requirement, you will alter your strategy, that how you go about your day. Or maybe just do this for your entertainment. Do not meet anybody without an appointment for 1 week. And you don't talk to people. Have your staff talk to them. Unless you're into the starting of your practice, please don't. Okay, I can say that the stunts that have been told in this seminar have been talked about with an expert. Please make sure you check your conditions before you try any. So maybe I tell you to listen to watch different yawner, and you don't start watching explicit content on public platforms. So that is not what I am talking about. It has to be very carefully and sensibly chosen. Now let's talk about creativity. What is creativity? Creativity is not just arts and entertainment. Many people, when I say that, okay, my teachers referred to me as a very creative person. What do they say about now? People, when they say that, if they say my student is very creative, they immediately assume, is he a singer? Is he a dancer? Is he maybe even if he's a professional and creative, he could be an architect. But when they say he's a chartered accountant, then they say, what is creative in that? I mean, we create the entire financial backbone of the world, and people think we're not creative. Is because creativity has lost its definition with time, and this happens. But let us, relive and revive the definition of creativity. You have to be able to create something which is not easily visible to the naked eye. What is that? For example, if I encounter a situation, all right, now I would want your, maybe you can write your response in the Q&A and we can get it later on, that if a client comes to my doorstep and says 15 other professionals have not been able to give me a solution, I listen to him carefully for an hour or two, and then I think about it for half an hour, bring a solution, give it to him on his table, charge him a respectable fee. Am I creative or not? That is creativity. Now, I told you, I'll give you simple exercises. Now, somebody might say that, how is listening to different music helping me in my career? No, I'm not asking you. I'm not saying that this will help you. Life does not work that way, that we do something and we get results immediately. It has a process. I'm just training. I'm just asking you, this will help your brain to be a little flexible with what it wants, with what it thinks of anything. Similarly, strategy for creativity is related to arts, maybe games, maybe a little bit of entertainment, but it is not the solution. Have you ever thought, today is Vijayadashmi. Vijayadashmi, we celebrate victory of Lord Ram over the demon, Ravan. Now, I will talk about two characters, one from this story and one maybe will go outside the story. Have you ever thought that Ravan, maybe he was such a big guy fighter, such a big bull of the Mason, and still he used to play a musical instrument. One of the most strongest warriors and one of the most strongest strategists of the entire mythology is Krishna, and he used to have maybe a lot of weapons, but also a flute. Similarly, when you talk about any major major celebrities, major people, even when we see the army, they have people who play a certain musical instrument or the other, or they sing or they do something. Actually, creativity can be displayed in any direction, but it has to be created inside you. And the creativity is not something you're born with. Come on. There's nothing that you're born with. It's just a lot of self-belief, a lot of pushing, and a lot of effort that makes anything happen. So please work on your creativity by choosing a hobby and coming up with new stuff in that hobby every now and then. Moving on, generating ideas. One of the best things that I've done to generate ideas is playing Scrabble. Now, I don't know if that works for you or not, but Scrabble is one of the best things that you can do with your family of any age. I mean, Scrabble can be played with such a young kid and an old man playing together because, come on, it's not just making words, it is making words out of the available options. And sometimes kids read more words than you do. So, no word will come, in isolation to your head. I promise you. There'll be no word that comes to your head in isolation. They will come one after the other. So you can obviously, there is an idea that will be born, and then you will be able to react to it. The other thing is resilience. Resilience, I don't need to actually, especially the maximum population of the chartered accountants is people who have undergone a lot of attempts to clear their chartered accountancy. So resilience is something I don't need to teach because they used to get only 3 months before they had their next attempt. They had to recover quickly. They had to be positive, and they had to go ahead and conquer the field, whatever the field that they were standing in. But how can we practice resilience? Try on a difficult thing to do, whatever difficulty that you can overcome. Even playing a musical instrument can be a difficult thing to do, because when the first time I started playing flute, I had a problem that I could not even make it to sound anything. Forget about sounding right. It did not sound like anything. But then you change your stratagem, you change the way you use the instrument, recover, and you positively think about that I'll be able to play a tune. Because if you don't think positively, you're not even trying to solve the problem. But when you start thinking positively, you start to actually try to solve the problem. And once you try, there is an opportunity there's a very good opportunity that you might solve the problem overall. Anyways. Moving on. How do we embrace ambiguity? There is a lot of ambiguity. That means the real world is very different from all the sci-fi or maybe a lot of self-help books which you might see behind me as well. The real world is not that simple. There's a lot of ambiguity on what's right and what's wrong. And I personally have read more than 300 books maybe, and that is without including any course related or profession related books. Approximately 300 texts is what I've gone through since I was maybe 12 or 14 years old when I was in school. And I can tell you very confidently that still things look very ambiguous, that still things don't make sense at times. Most of the things don't make sense. I'm not saying one, most of the things don't make sense. Like maybe I might be overstepping here, but there's a lot of things that you can continue talking about, but then you have to also ensure that you make a lot of sense. There's a role of innovation and creativity in accounting. Many people say that I told you when I talk about when my teachers who taught me in school, they say he's a very creative boy and why is he in accounting? I feel a little sad because you have to be creative and innovative even when you are talking about finance, and the creative problem solving has to be encouraged if we are looking for a forward to a generation of accountants which is going to lead the global accounting profession. I think we're looking at the wrong approach if we're not encouraging the creative problem solving kids in our own profession. So you have to have innovative financial solution which also integrate with technology. If in today's world or maybe in past, if you're not encouraging your young deliberates, you're not encouraging your young lads, then I think you might be creating a problem not just for yourself but also for the future of your profession, for the future of your generations who are here to resolve problems for you. So, firstly, there is a huge role of innovation and creativity in accounting. Then you have to encourage the innovative financial solution integrated with technology. I'm just trying to write it down for you somewhere that it is very easy to write it down in a presentation and listen to it, but the problem is that we forget after the sessions are done. So please remember these words: encourage CPS, ENCCPS, and obviously IFS, innovative financial solutions, and then IWT. They have to be integrated with technology. ENCCPS, IFS, IWT. So this is one of the ways that you can, approach the, the thing. Now, I promise that we will talk about India's economic tapestry. The India's economic tapestry is characterized by its diversity, complexity, and rapid evolution. Here are some key features of India's economy. How is India's economy unique? First, there are diverse sectors in India's economy. It has a broad base where with major contributions from agriculture. Even today, the major contribution is agriculture. There's a lot of manufacturing that goes around here, a lot of service industry. The service sector includes IT, telecommunication, and has been a significant driver of growth. Accounting outsourcing is such a huge opportunity that we all know. Just think about IT, which has been outsourcing, which outsourcing services in IT tech support has been going on, I think, since more than 30 years now, maybe at least 30 years. When I started working around 20 years ago, it was the case. 15 years has been that I was in the industry, but I think it would have been there for at least a decade before that. The IT sector was providing services. Service sector has been a significant driver of growth. And major issues, the major paradigms are the IT and telecommunications. We, as chartered accountants, are also a part of the service sector. Now, when we say diverse sectors, the second thing which makes India's economy very unique is there's a lot of demographic dividend there. There's a large young population. India has a potential to benefit from a substantial workforce that can contribute in economic growth. So there's a demographic advantage that presents an opportunity, and there is also a substantiate amount of opportunity for innovation and productivity enhancements. But the problem with this huge demographic dividend, that there is a problem that if people are not focused on developing, people are not altogether committed to the growth of this economy, and some people just want to, have the fruits of the benefit. So this can also turn into a liability for you very soon, sooner than you have imagined. This will turn into a liability. So let's give it the okay, we've already gone to two options. This is another thing. There's a lot of an entrepreneurial spirit in this country. There's a vibrant startup ecosystem, particularly in technology, e-commerce. There's a lot of, just give me 1 second. I'm extremely sorry. I have to go in and out because the issue that was, I will definitely love to discuss it later on. I'll put it on my socials. So, we've talked about the India's economic tapestry. The first thing is, of course, there's a lot of diverse sectors, there's demographic dividend. We've talked about entrepreneurial spirit. Now, let's talk about the cultural and linguistic diversity. Everything when we talk about economic landscape is important. India's cultural diversity influences the customer behavior. Nothing that I say is just something to be said and looks good. It has a huge impact on the market. It has a huge impact on the economy because there's a lot of linguistic diversity. There's a lot of cultural diversity. The consumer behavior is very different. The market dynamics are very different. So we have cities and states which are huge consumer, producer, and exporters of meat. And this country has the only city which has no traces of any non-vegetarian population. So you see how diverse can the economy get. This is the highest level of diversity. We have the ultimate advocates of peace to the ultimate, cultures of a lot of mass, motorsporting and a lot of combat sports. To serve this business, to serve this cultural diversity, the business has to adapt strategies to cater religious and regional preferences and languages. The regulatory environment as well of India is important. So we've talked about this is the fifth issue. The fourth was cultural and linguistic diversity. The fifth is regulatory environment. India's economy is subject to complex regulatory frameworks. There's a lot of complexity. Even institutions have problems in getting into the clear. So the states and sectors and even sometimes in districts, the regulatory framework is variable. There's a continuous reform that aims to improve ease of doing business and attract foreign investments. So a lot of FDI attraction is done. But there's a lot of regulatory difficulties still in practice. So is India in the position of ease of doing business? Are we actually, making that dream a reality, or that's just something bookish? I would love to see your response and your opinion in the chat box later. Let's talk about the infrastructural development. If we talk about India's economic tapestry and India's economic landscape, it will be so unfair that I don't talk about the bull, the big horn of the India's economy today, that is infrastructural development. India is investing heavily in infrastructure projects. Heavily. Maybe we are funding it through the way of our tolls or anything, but the reality is the investment is huge. There's a lot of transportation, there's a lot of energy involved. There's a lot of digital infrastructure. I'm not talking just about highways that are being built. I'm talking about investment into infrastructure, which is also digital infrastructure to support the economic growth and improve connectivity. There was one of the American presidents who said sometime, I don't remember the name and details, and this is what happens when you're not doing well and you missed your reading before session. Actually, there was an American president who said that American roads are not great because America is great. America is great because American roads are great. Something to that effect. Maybe it was about economy and not America. So this is reality. I'm not just talking about roads. Today, more than roads, the important thing is the technical and the digital infrastructure. Because let's be honest, service industry is taking over the manufacturing industry. Services can be delivered through a distance. And that delivery cannot be done via a road or a highway. That delivery has to be done with a digital infrastructure. Then, of course, there is rural and urban divide. Let's talk about real effects here. This is number 8, which is rural and urban divide. In this economic tapestry, there's a lot of rural and urban divide. So there's a notable contrast between the rural and urban areas in terms of economic activities and development, influencing policy priorities and business strategies. Let me just talk about one example. and many of you come from rural areas. I myself come from a small village. So, and when we come to the city for the first time, the economic activity is so different that in the cities, there's a special place or a special investment opportunity wherein people actually have markets to eat out, and they run till 11 or 12. There are special I don't know, what do you call them, the places where you can just eat a 2-minute noodle. The Maggie shops, we have these in cities, and they eat Maggie outside, and that too in the late night. There's a special spot that everybody goes at 2 o'clock in the night. Let's talk about the rural areas now. You hardly go outside to eat something that can be prepared at home. And even the things that cannot be prepared at home, people choose not to eat them because they're not sure of how the hygiene is where it is being prepared. And forget about the 2-minute noodle, which is the easiest to cook. And people from a rural area buying it, I do not buy that thought even. Okay. So now let's talk about the diversity. We've talked about the rural and urban divide. There's a lot of global integration going on. I'm going to tell you, there is today's Vijay Dashmi, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why Indian economy is so complex and so difficult to comprehend. And please, once we've talked about all the 10 points, we're at the 9 number now. Feel proud of being a chartered accountant. We are actually handling this complex ecosystem, and people and still behave like nothing is which is bothering us. The ninth and most important is the global integration. India has an increased it is increasingly getting integrated into the global economy. The participation in the international trade agreements and attracting FDI, while also focusing on self-reliance through narratives like Make in India, right? Through narratives like the Made in India has been shifted to Make in India, and the initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat. There's so much going on, and the global integration is there, and still self-reliance is there. What you have to feel about your country at this point, my friends, the fellow chartered accountants, and all the ladies and the gentlemen in the audience, that we as chartered accountants have a lot of reasons to feel proud, because it is the most sensitive and complex time to work in. And if you are doing anything, if you're even invested into a startup with working side by side with them, you're helping them to raise funds, you're helping them to make a sensible set of books. Whatever you're doing great. And if you're becoming a part of the problem, then that's a problem as well. 10th and the most important is the policy reforms. The GST has arrived. It's not been a very long time, and just the chartered accountants have made it feel like there was nothing. But in just 3.5 years of GST, 2.5 years of application of GST, we had the pandemic, and the government is saying that we will launch a new direct tax code in the next 3 to 4 months now, because she said 6 a few months ago. The only reason that the governments are highly confident in today's environment, I think, is because of the platform that chartered accountants have provided them. So it's nothing bad to think about that. We should be grateful to this noble profession, and wonderfully how silently this profession has worked for the country. The evidence is that how much do you see that the profession is being regarded as less is a proof that they're doing their job silently. But when I told you the last 10 things, I hope everybody would have felt a little proud that how we have to, be a part of this wonderful changing times. And I hope the future generations are nothing but grateful of what we've done. We have to be also, we also have to be very sensitive and very hard to ourselves, and work really harder now, so that future generations have something to be proud of. Any which ways, let's move on to the little appropriate, a little how to get appropriate in rooms. Because today I told you cultures are becoming very sensitive. There's a lot of things that I'm not saying that sensitivity is bad. Firstly, please understand, I respect sensitivity, and I am actually trying to explain that you or me or all of us have to be thankful to the age of information, to the age of social media, that we are able to, respect. Still, we do not respect 100% of the emotions, right? Still, we do not respect 100% of the emotions. Still, there is a lot that we have to work upon. But whatever we are able to respect and whatever we are able to, you know, okay, just give me 1 second. I get a little disturbed with any sort of noise that comes around me. Okay. And I'm sorry because not being in a room and speaking with the in front of a screen, the biggest challenge that I believe that I face is that I don't even have my audience to, just give me a cue that okay, this is what you were talking about. And I have to think and I have to restart. Okay, so I was talking about that how sensitivity, how information, and how the age of how the modern era has helped all of us, not just me, not just a few people. Look, people say the world is very sensitive. The world was always sensitive. Now we know about it. Why are we feeling scared to say the things that we used to say very easily in past? Maybe we can say body shaming, or maybe we can say some sort of let's not talk about finance, let's talk a little generic right now. Some sort of orientation, some sort of sexual preference. We are very focused that we don't say something which does not upset anybody. People are not just afraid of the consequences. Let me tell you, the world is nicer than we think. Think about yourself that will you ever want to hurt somebody in purpose? No, you don't. So this is how. Excuse me, just give me 1 minute. I just need to shift around from here and I'll just connect in another. That's better. I'm so sorry because of being on a holiday. It's very difficult to find a quiet place inside the house today. So I've just chosen a different room right now. So, firstly, let's understand how can we be flexible in communication. Now, to be flexible in communication, we have to adapt different adapting communication styles. Let me just try and put a little light on this topic. What is an adaptive communication style, and what makes a communication style as adaptive as it can be? Look, the first thing is that there's a way. I remember when I was young, when I was in school, all of us were trying to be funny. I don't know why. Maybe today, even today, that is the case. What we do is sometimes we get into a room and we try to crack a joke so that it is established that we are the funny one. We're making the environment a little light. Before, speaking or listening, first observe. And this is the mistake which our parents have been talking about for years, and we have been making it so very proudly, right? Can it be possible that you are getting into a room and the atmosphere does not call for a joke? Some people love to be in energy and they're always energetic. They try to display energy. Some people say that I say good morning all times in the day, evening, afternoon, or night. I say good morning because that's what gives me energy. Honestly, these things looked very entertaining in the first few times that we heard, but later on, it was just bullcrap irritating. It was not at all something which made sense, and it does not even make sense today. So you don't have to be funny all the time. You don't have to be energetic all the time. What you have to be is respect the room, read the room, and respect the situation, because everywhere you go in this life, you have a role to play. You add to the energy of the room, but you do not possess the power to change the environment altogether. I remember one time, and this is the real thing that happened with me. So I'm just sharing this incident, and whosoever is listening, please relate to it. My father was sick with cancer, and it was 2011. My father got well later on after a year. 5 years ago, I lost my mother. At that time as well, there were some friends. So there were always 4 or 5 people who used to come to the house, and they are friends. I'm not saying they're not friends. And luckily, none of them is one of the chartered accountants. So I can say this with an open mind that they had a habit of cracking jokes at all the time, even at the crematorium. They were cracking jokes, and they were thinking, obviously, when somebody cracks joke after joke after joke, even when you are giving you're just giving your last rites to your mother, you have a certain smile on your face, but that's not laughter, that's not smile, that is not making you happy. The problem is that these people are only making the process a little difficult for you. There is a process. You have to process the pain, you have to process the emotion. These people don't let it happen. They put new emotions on you when you're not even ready for any emotions, when you were not even ready for the emotions that you've gone through. With that, I will tell you how this affects business times as well. For example, we go into a company. I'm just sharing an example that I do TDS consultation for a client. Okay. A client comes to me and he brings in the TDS consultation. And I tried to change their entire accounting landscape. I tried to tell them new SOPs for maybe just for my TDS part. Maybe I tried to tell them how to change the way that they have been doing things for so long. The problem is I can do that if I've been working with them for sufficient and appropriate time. But what if I've just started working with them? And this is the mistake which most of the professionals have been. I've seen them make, and they proudly make this mistake actually, that they try to prove that they are better very quickly. Now I'll talk about one of the seniors that I used to have. He was one of the chartered accountants, very, very old, very experienced in the city. He said the only way that you can solicit work is see the work that has been done and point out mistakes in them. Actually, let me just ask you a question. Many people spend less time in auditing, and we say that the audit quality is poor. Why do we have audit programs? Why do we have a system to approach? Why do we have a system of justice? Why is there's police work? Because there is a system that you can get comments, when you can give an opinion. There is a point after a certain audit program, you're ready to give an opinion. Similarly, when you get into the room, when you get into a business, when you get into a profession, when you start a client, do not start giving your suggestions very early. Give the time, give sufficient time to the client, to the business, to yourself, to understand and adapt to the style that this work is being processed with. And later on, you'll be able to react in the appropriate and sufficient way. So this is one of the things that must be taken care of, and this is adaptive communication. Now, what is effective communication? What tips can I give you for effective communication? Honestly, I have given I think a lot of tips while I was talking about adaptive styles. Okay. But I will definitely give you some tips for effective communication. And as I promised, there will be exercises that I'll give you for communication. Because I've given you exercises for thinking. Now I'll give you exercises for communication afterwards. So some of the tips for an effective communication is firstly, listen properly. After a conversation, this is an exercise you can do. Now, don't say that I'm giving you a lot of tasks and it is not possible. At least do it for 5 or 10 of them. 5 or 10 important discussions that you have in any day. Just keep a diary and make notes that what was the person saying. Do not give a lot of attention to your responses, but just write down what they said. After you're done, try and remember, do you clearly remember what they said? And then think about, this happens a lot of times, because when we write the diary just after the person is gone, we write the right thing and then we think, oh, he did not mean this. He said this, but he meant something different than what we recollected. So this is what happens when you know continuously practice writing and rethinking your conversations, and you realize, oh, somebody was saying something else, and I totally missed the point, and I reacted in a total inappropriate way. So this is one of the exercises you can do. Of course, paraphrase, summarize, and talk back. That is one of the ways which you've already been hearing. I think I've many tips have been given to you about this. A lot of clarity and consciousness is the second tip that I can give you. Be clear, to the point. Avoid using complex language, jargons, which might confuse. Do not give new age words. Like somebody said that I now know the meaning of that word, and my partner who was working with me in one of the projects, he said that you have FOMO. I said what? And I did not realize until a week he said that he wanted to say that this is my mistake, that I should have Googled straight away, and I would have understood that he's saying that I have a fear of missing out. So indirectly, what it means is that I probably was disturbing him more than he was expecting me to be there. So I'm getting into the room more than my expectation is the only time anybody will say you have FOMO or something, because they don't want your presence. Forget about if your presence is right or wrong. Just think about, is your presence required or not? And then take a decision that if you are present there because you want to be there, it's okay. If you were there that you do not want to, you don't want to upset the other person, then maybe you have to realize that you're upsetting the other person more by being there than by missing out that situation. So this is how you can be, clear to the point. Organize your thoughts before speaking. It's a very good habit to write down on a piece of paper that what you want to say. You will write 10 points and then you'll realize these all are not necessary, and you will just finish your words in 3 points. This happens more often than you actually remember. This happens more often than you think, but it does happen. Third point is never forget to know your audience. You know, always have an understanding of whom you are getting into the conversation with. Tailor the message to the audience's level of knowledge and interest. If I'm talking to a 5-year-old, I cannot use this language. I have to tell him that you have to be effective in communication, you have to listen properly. But this is not how you talk to 5-year-olds. This is not my audience's level. And of course, consider the cultural backgrounds and perspectives. This is way more important than it has been respected, because there is a lot of non-verbal communication. Number 4, the next point, that be mindful of your body language, eye contact, and facial expressions, as they can reinforce, contradict what you're saying. So this is one of the ways. And ensure your non-verbal cues are consistent with your verbal message. This is one of the things that you can focus. They have empathy, have understanding. Show empathy by acknowledging the feelings and perspectives of others. Practice active empathy in conversation, which helps in building rapport and trust. Encourage feedback, of course. Be open to receiving some. And one of the points is always speak with confidence, but do not be arrogant. Confidence is the best thing that you can have, and arrogance is the biggest suicide that you can, take up in the coming days. And practice your speaking skills as well. Build confidence in various scenarios. Have practice rounds for arguments, maybe discussions, maybe difference of opinions, wherever you want to focus on, right? Be open to different opinions, viewpoints, and be willing to engage in constructive dialogues. Of course, avoid making assumptions and jumping to conclusions. Of course, more than that, show respect for opinions, ideas of others, even when you disagree. Use a polite language, maintain a respectful tone, never get disrespectful of your listener or the audience. And lastly, what I've taught you in the last point, have adaptability. Be flexible in your approach, depending on the situation and the feedback of your audience. Adapt your dialogue, and style and methods according to the audience. This is the tips that I have for you in effective communication. Of course, one of the things is handling difficult conversations. Because I'm telling you to tell you the master of responses. Uh, Difficult conversations, what can be a difficult conversation for one person can be a cakewalk for the other. Like they say, never fight with a pig because they will drown you to their level. Now you will be covered in dirt and the pig is actually enjoying it. So handling difficult conversations can only mean that the conversations that do not suit your style. So if your style is very authoritative, very very lead taking, very toe stepping, if you step on toes very often, you're not made for polite and calm discussions, or maybe you're not there for reinforcements. There's a lot that you cannot do with that kind of a style of communication, but that is difficult for you. So, but if the other, on the other hand, you're very soft, soft, polite, soft spoken, very giving, very kind of a pushover. Your style is very difficult for having an argument, having a ruling, having a judgment. So that is a difficult conversation for you. Now, the only way that you can handle a difficult conversation with panache, with a lot of style and reverence, is that you can always put in an extra effort by practicing and rehearsing your dialogue. Of course, now don't ask me that how will this help in a road rage. Suddenly somebody starts. I'm not here to help you with road rage. I'm trying to say in professional scenarios, how can this help? So even when you're going to meet a client and you think today's conversation is a kind of a difficult one, just make sure you rehearse it a little. Do some sort of a dialogue, role play, internal discussions, or whatever that suits your style. I think that can be a very good option, honestly. And now, how to integrate adaptive thinking into practice? First, how to develop that, I've already told you. Now, how to embed the change into daily practice. I've told you, the people will say, you've already told us the daily practice. No, I did not tell you the daily practice. I just said that how these changes will be embedded in the daily practice. All right. So you've had the changes. Now your method is changing. Now how this will be affected? Look, start writing about the scenarios. While practicing the changes that I've given you, start writing about the scenarios because writings are documented. Don't do it in a soft copy, do it in a hard copy, do it on a paper. I'm not saying papers, oh, sorry, soft copies are hard to maintain. I'm just saying that the hard copies just have a certain feeling that they will be placed somewhere. You cannot access it everywhere you go. So you will have to get back to the situation. You'll have to get back to the writing mode and write both the situations in the same or a similar thought process. All right. Then, of course, there is tools and resources. The only problem that I'm facing right now is I'm not doing very well. So, of course, I am facing a little problem in thinking as well now. I'm heating up again. So, let's talk about the benefits of adaptive thinking. Now, I told you, adaptive thinking is, having an opportunity to think and change your thought process in every possible scenario that you can. So, of course, because now you think and adapt to all the situations that your client gives you. This will, of course, improve your relationships with your clients. And then, because you then have an opportunity, people have an opportunity to have different persona of you whenever there's a different situation. So team will also collaborate, and then the team collaboration is enhanced. The organization will definitely look towards success. and there's a long-term advantage of your own business taking a shape where a lot of referral comes in, a lot of people start, respecting your style, and you have an opportunity to train because you are already popular. People copy your style, and a lot of it goes out, and none of the words is out without uh, any any advantage. Now I have brought something for you. Just give me 1 second. Because I already made a few parts for you. It was not. Just give me 1 second. Just trying to share the combination. Give me a second. Just allow me a moment. So moving on. Firstly, now let's move on. I was looking at the time that we have a certain amount of time left for us. So we will definitely, before we have questions from you, and I would really look forward to receiving some. Let's talk about the importance of response techniques. Imagine a scenario in a workplace, in a meeting, where a potential conflict arises. How do you respond? Calmly, assertively, empathetically? You can diffuse the tension and lead to constructive solutions rather than escalation. In a contrast, a poor response technique may exacerbate the misunderstanding or conflicts. The response techniques help in building trust and rapport. They facilitate clear understanding and promote effective collaboration. They can enhance personal relationships, they improve leadership skills, and increase workplace productivity. In today's business environment, we see with its emphasis on teamwork and collaboration, it requires us to be more adept at handling diverse perspectives and engage in meaningful dialogue. Effective response techniques can be the bridge that closes the gap between mindful and mutual comprehension. The cornerstone of effective response is active listening. First, you need to listen actively. It is more than just hearing words. I already told you how to have the technique. Now, let's understand how it helps. It involves fully concentrating, understanding, responding, and then remembering what is being said. Here are some elements to incorporate. Foremost and first, pay full attention. Focus is completely on the speaker. Maintain eye contact and remain present in the conversation. So, for example, I cannot make an eye contact with you while I'm speaking. But you see, I'm constantly trying to look at the camera until I'm thinking I have to look elsewhere. So, this is how you have to, firstly, this shows respect and genuine interest into what is being said. Reflect and clarify. Use paraphrasing. So what you're saying is, and then to verify the understanding. Now, what example, if you just want to make sure that I know that you're listening, you can just paraphrase some things that I've said to you and send it back to me in the chat or give it to me on my socials. This not only shows This not only shows that you're engaged, but also clarifies the speaker's message. Maybe sometimes you've not understood the right message. Paraphrasing can actually help you know that what is the right message that was being attempted to be communicated. Use verbal affirmations just as I see, I understand. Just have non-verbal cues like nodding. These encourage the speaker. I mean, even if there's nobody on the screen right now, uh, why do you think that ICI has event enablers? Because when we are speaking and there's nobody on the screen, everybody switches their screens off. It never feels like being in a room or being talking to people. We feel like it's even if there's event enablers, 4 or 5 people just nodding their heads left, right, and center. It just gives you an opportunity to be thankful and be there, and the speaker still wants to continue. Provide the feedback. Use other opportunities and defer judgment. Avoid forming immediate response before the speaker has finished speaking. Sometimes whatever is being said, no matter how offensive, suddenly makes sense towards the end of the note that has been given. Not just the speakers who write their speeches do well, but even the people who are speaking, while speaking, sometimes we are we are looking to make sense in a minute or two, but we don't get that opportunity most of the times. All right. So, being owning active listening skills, we not only enhance our response skills but also foster an environment of trust and respect. Verbal and non-verbal communication, let's talk about them. Firstly, verbal communication. Speak clearly, concisely, avoid jargons like I've already told you. Your tone should match your message. A calm and steady tone can convey confidence and assurance, whereas a more animated tone may be appropriated for enthusiasm or excitement. Now, how is nonverbal communication and how can you master nonverbal communication? Firstly, your posture, gestures, and facial expressions can reinforce your message, or if not aligned, they can also contradict the message that you're about to give. For instance, maintaining an open posture can indicate openness and confidence. Eye contact, it establishes the connection and engagement with the audience. Too little eye contact can be interpreted as disinterest, while too much can feel intrusive. So the problem with the soft skills is that they're so subjective that not even a single time in your life you will feel like that anything is can be easily closed, because subjectivity is the core of soft skills. S for subjectivity, S for soft skills. I don't know what's wrong, but there is something that when people say soft skills constitute a lot of part of your success, I just say that as much important they might be, it is very difficult to learn, and more difficult than learning is training soft skills. Thank you. So we have some question, I think. Why response management skill is so important for CAs? Well, I think honestly speaking, I already told you around 30 years, 25, 20 years ago, it was enough that a chartered accountant could have been very strong in he must have in-depth knowledge and analysis of the legal and regulatory framework, and that was enough. But when you see today, that is not that you don't require the skill of being strong and having an in-depth knowledge of the legal and regulatory framework. You still need that. But along with that skill, you also need to have the additional skills wherein you are a bridge between two different things. Because the problem is that we all understand, and I don't know what was past, what was future, but we know the technology is increasing at a rapid pace. The increase in expertise calls for more focused experts. So now today we have young entrepreneurs who are only, let's say, 14 years old, 15 years, 18, 19. These people are doing wonders in science. Maybe there is 30 year, but they're not at all aware of the finance. So we are the bridge between them, because any number of like, I'm not saying technology is inferior or finance is inferior. Nobody is inferior. Keep them equal, but any amount of technology or development will require the management of the finance. So how are we planning to, raise that finance? How are we planning to explain it to them? The way we discuss with them, the way we discuss with the founders and entrepreneurs is a very important task. So we need to have the right responses when they talk to us so that they have confidence in us and we are able to bring them onto a level of understanding, and the discussions can be open, two ways, and multi ways. The next question is, what are the common misconceptions about response management skills? The most common misconception about response management is that it is something to do with anger management. It is something to do with not offending people. No, no, no. Actually, yes, anger management is the. If you need anger management, you're not even close to learning response management. I'm sorry. I know I am a little less sensitive about these things. That if you cannot even control your anger and you give such inappropriate responses, then response management is a very precise skill. It is very, very. It is a higher level of thinking. If you have anger issues, anger management issues, you're not even close to learning response management. So please focus on your anger first, focus on your total inappropriateness, and then let's talk about less appropriate options. Okay. What are the strategies for managing response skills at work? Well, in simple words, the stratagem for managing response at workplace can be as simple as just allow me 1 minute. I think I'm losing my battery now. Just a moment. So the strategies for managing response skills at work. The first strategy that you can use is that always and always make sure that after your the response is done, you focus on the feedback that you get a little later than that conversation. If that person is not, that person does not seem satisfied with you, or the task that you were responded for does not seem to be getting completed or getting anywhere, I don't think there's a point in, there's a point in getting into the thought of uh, how this is going on. It's not going right if it's not getting the right feedback. What are the best practices for response skills improving in the workplace? Best practices is nothing, but you can just, start to, make sure that there is results of whatever you do, whatever you say, however you do it. You should focus on getting results out of it. And there's no more that you can do about these skills and the best practices. the tools and resources for enrichment of these skills. Well, the tools and responses, the session that you're taking right now is one of the most important resources that you will ever have. And tools, yes, you can read a lot. You can read about how to, improve other skills which are constituents of the response management. Your listening skills can be worked upon. ICI has a very important book on that. The communication, the calmness, the pleasure, the peace of your voice is important, right? So that's the tools that you can have. And leadership has an important role to play in response management, because leaders cannot just make sure that they give the right response, but leadership also ensures that they can train their subordinates, not just for a day, but for the lifetime of how a response will be managed by them. So this is the role of leadership. I think if we have no more questions, we can call the organizers as okay. What are the success stories of entities that mastered the response management? It's not entities that master response management, but still, yes, if you want to make it an organizational structural way, uh, entities that have mastered the response management. Let me just tell you. So a few years ago, I'm sorry for the rest in peace to the great soul, Ratan Tata ji, who launched Nano, I think approximately 20 years ago, 25 years ago, he launched it for the market, which was, assumably looking for affordability of the cars, but the people did not respond as expected. They responded to the car as if it's an inferior quality, it's not something that they wanted. And now they have one of the most advanced designs, most advanced vehicles of the entire industry. That's what I can say. The power of response management in transforming employee engagement. Employee engagement, I think employee satisfaction can be increased with response management, but not employee engagement. Employees will be engaged with other skills, maybe, but this is not the skill for that. No, you're not looking at the right skill. How can take control of your how can take control of your response management? I think I told you that if you have issues with anger management, if you have issues with managing your emotions, it is very hard to even think about being able to manage your responses.
Nakul sir, you can go for the conclusion of that one as just summarize. Within 10 minutes, you just summarize.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. So let's move towards the conclusion of what we have discussed today. Just give me 1 second. So, firstly, as we've come to the end of the discussion, let's take a moment to reflect upon the essentials of effective response techniques and how they can transform our interactions both personally and, of course, professionally. So we begin by exploring the vital role that response techniques play in communication, whether at workplace, home, or community. The ability to respond thoughtfully and effectively is an essential skill that influences outcomes, relationships, and of course the overall success that we get in our own career. Mastering these skills can actually open doors to trust, collaboration, productivity, and all which is critical in the interconnected world that we live in today. The foundation of effective responses is that we should be listening actively. Active listening is one of the options. We highlighted the significance of you know of being there, of being present in the conversations, listening. The intention should be to understand rather than to reply, of course. By doing so, we not only foster a deeper level of engagement, but we also pave a way for mutual understanding. Remember, paraphrasing and reflecting are very powerful strategies that ensure clarity and demonstrate empathy. Create a path of, and this will create a path for a very meaningful dialogue between you and the other party. And then we delved a little deeper into the elements of verbal and non-verbal communication skills, such as clarity, brevity, combined with carefully considered tone, uh, enable us to deliver our messages. And there has to be impact in your messages. I'm sorry if I missed it during the session, but do not forget that regardless of all that I've said, the impact of your communication is the key. If there is impact in your communication, then forget about what you were doing and how you were doing it. At least there has to be impact. Losing impact and then having nothing, then having a lot of skills, I don't think that's meaningful at all. I don't want you to do that any which ways. Now, there is non-verbal cues that we talked about, eye contact, and of course, how to make sure that you have the right amount of eye contact, how to make sure that you have the right amount of tone. So I told about the subjectivity of the entire uh, response management. There's a subjectivity of all the soft skills. So they're just both minor and they're no sorry minor, but I think they're like they're not just minor. They magnify. They are the ones the non-verbal communication actually magnify the words that we speak as we speak them. So make sure that they are properly practiced so that the message is conveyed effectively. So when you address a challenging conversation, I told you that make sure that the techniques ensure that there is composure, empathy, maintain a calm demeanor, apply empathy first before rushing to solutions. Then have I statements to minimize defensiveness. Don't be defensive. Say I, don't say we when you're doing something wrong and you're owning up to a mistake. Say I. Then, of course, practice respectful disagreement. And then, of course, have grace and professionalism in all the interactions that you have. These skills are not only crucial in resolving conflicts, but also in transforming them into opportunities for growth and understanding, right? Ultimately, by integrating these response techniques into our daily interactions, we empower ourselves to become better communicator. We become listeners who are truly present, speakers who are both clear and considerate, and participants who are engaged, empathic, and of course, who can actually make the speaker go, oh. As you move forward, I encourage you to practice these skills concisely and continuously. Remember that effective communication is not an innate talent, but a skill that can be developed and refined over time. Approach each interaction with an open mind and a genuine desire to understand. And you will find that the quality of your interactions and the strength of your relationships will significantly improve. Thank you for your attention and participation today. It has been a privilege to share these insights with you, and I hope you leave with a renewed commitment to enhancing your communication skills and a deeper understanding of the power of effective responses. Let's continue to listen actively, communicate clearly, and engage empathetically in our daily lives. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in mastering the essential skills. I now invite the organizers to share their thoughts. We can move to the conclusion.
Thank you, Nakulji, for your good, nice deliberation. May I request CA Ayush Goyal ji, please deliver a vote of thanks. Hello, Ayush Goyal ji, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
I hope he is. Yeah, please
Yes, sir.
give a vote of thanks to Nakul.
आवाज आ
हाँ,
रही
आ
है?
रही है, आ रही है.
Good afternoon.
Good noon.
It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful webcast on mastering response skills for chartered accountants, navigating cultural and business environment. And Enrichment Committee, ICI, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our speaker, sir, CA Nakul Arora ji, for his enlightening session. Sincere thanks to the event enablers from the Agra branch of CIRC of ICI who enabled the webcast throughout. Finally, we would like to thank all of you present here and helping us make this webcast a grand success. Thank you one and all present over here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Over to Samit ji.
Recording stopped.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू। हम अभी जो है हमारा वेबकास्ट खत्म हो गया, रिकॉर्डिंग बंद कर दिए।
Okay.
तो मतलब सर कैसा, तबीयत कैसे है?
सर हो जाएगा सर, अब बस रख के मैं लेटता हूँ जाके। अभी आई एम नॉट एबल टू इवन स्पीक। लास्ट आधा घंटा तो मुझे कुछ नहीं पता मैं क्या बोलने जा रहा था। मतलब my head was all not in the right place last half an hour.
अच्छा, फिर सर विदाउट वेस्टिंग टाइम आपको रेस्ट लेने की वो करते हैं।
जी 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 जी।
थैंक यू आयुष जी, थैंक यू अजय सर।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Samit ji.
थैंक यू थैंक यू।
Bye.